everybody. There he is. Don't forget, great sale going on right now. 30% off any pad there. And they're super affordable as it is. With 30% off, it's a joke. Go to redrecover.com so you can recover from any pain, any inflammation, any discomfort, any old injury, surgery, scars. You can make them disappear. Redrecover.com. Red light therapy will make a huge difference. How you doing, my man? How you feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
Terrible. Obviously, shit performance by the Dolphins the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Shit performance by Mike McDaniel this second week here against the Chargers. I gave him all the breaks in the San Fran game because Tua was off. He designed everything beautifully. Guys were open. In this game, guys were a little bit more covered. Tua was also off. Receivers were dropping balls, and I thought there wasn't enough adjustments there. It was really, really a stank performance the last 2 weeks by the offense.
It was. I actually, so look, I think when you're playing the 49ers, and especially on the road against 49ers, it's an understandable game when you don't play well. Like that to me, in my opinion, is the most talented defense in the NFL. When you play like that against a Chargers team that does not have Derwin James, does not have Bosa, does not have, of course, J.C. Jackson, that's a problem. Tua was 6 of 22 before the last drive of the game, which was essentially garbage time. He was awful. And they were, I agree, slow to adjust. I mean, the Chargers essentially just said, look, we're going to be very aggressive with the way we cover you, and you're going to have to adjust to that. And the Dolphins never adjusted to it. So coaching, I agree, slow on the uptake there, but also Tua just, you've got to play better than that. I mean, you're not beating anybody who's any good playing where you're not making tight window throws. I mean, that's reality at this time of year. You're going to have to do it. And they're certainly going to have to do it on Saturday night up in Buffalo.
You know, last year he either led the league or was second or third in tight window throws.
Yeah, because he's going to have to do it.
Because that's all he did last year, because nobody got separation and Waddle could only run short routes because they had no line, no running game, all that stuff, the crap that they dealt with. And it's funky how, you had some of those issues this week, and he was forcing balls into Tyreek early when he's covered by like 3 guys, and you're like, yo, dude, do the math. If he's covered by 3, Waddle's got to be single covered. And that's where I blame McDaniel, that you got to get your quarterback. You need to spread the ball around. You need to hit Cedric Wilson. You need to get Trent Sherfield involved. You know what I mean? And I get, the whole Gesicki thing. I get he doesn't fit your offense because he doesn't block, but God damn it, dude. He's a mismatch when he runs a route. So you mean you can't find a couple of routes a game for him, even red zone fade with the height he has and the athletic ability? So to me, McDaniel has to get a little bit more creative. And I almost felt like they were stubborn in that game, and they kept taking deep shot after deep shot. And you're like, guys, just look what Herbert's doing to you. It's a shitload of underneath stuff. Bam, 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 bam. He played a terrific game. He fired all over the place. But if you really look at it, he scored 1 touchdown on 370 yards. You didn't challenge him, because if you score 1 more touchdown and win 24-23, the narrative is completely different. They would have said, oh, yeah, Herbert put up a lot of yards, but he didn't score a lot of points. They ended up selling for a lot of field goals. The narrative would have changed completely. This week, if Josh Allen throws for 370 yards, do you think it's going to be 1 touchdown? No. You're not going to lose by 6 points. You're going to lose by 20 points if you allow Josh Allen to throw for 370 yards. So for me, it was just one of those things that if you got a little bit of offense, that entire game changes. The whole narrative of the whole game changes and everything.
Yeah, of course.
It was there for you.
Listen, that game was weird in the sense, too. If we're going to be honest, I mean, the Chargers had a 4th and goal where they're the Chargers, and so they throw the ball outside of the goal line. And I think it was DeAndre Carter. It might have been Josh Palmer. I can't remember off the top of my head. Who caught the ball and then like staggered forward and fell over and couldn't get in the end zone. Okay.
Right.
On a play that I'll never understand. Like you have to get into the end zone. It's 4th and goal. You throw the ball short of the line. I mean, that's like when teams do that in the middle of the field. They have like a 4th and 3 and they throw a swing pass backwards. So now you have to gain like 7 yards. But in any event, the Dolphins also had one of the weirdest touchdowns you'll ever see. Where there's a fumble, the ball squirts out into all people. Tyreek Hill's standing there, just grabs it and takes off for 60, 65 yards.
An injured Tyreek Hill.
Yes, yeah, right. I mean, who's still faster than every other human being alive, even when he's on like a one good wheel. My biggest criticism of McDaniel in the game was that they didn't run the ball more. Like you are in a game where you're actually, if you look at their numbers, now some of this is Tua ran 3 times for 28 yards, okay? But most are not a big game. But Jeff Wilson had 4 carries for 26 yards. Like, give Jeff Wilson 10 carries. I mean, take some of the burden off your passing game. They were never down big in the game. It wasn't like it was a game where you just couldn't run the ball and you're constantly trying to play catch up. And I think sometimes, look, the analytics of football have gotten so out of whack, in my opinion, where people just say, running the ball is a waste of time. You got to throw the ball every down. That's nonsense. You have to have some balance in the game. And while the Dolphins didn't have crazy imbalance, I mean, I think Tua dropped back 33 times. They ran on purpose 16 times. I'd like to see them in a game where Tua couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat for 3 quarters. I mean, run it. The other part of that is, too, the Chargers can't stop anybody on the ground. Anybody.
Yeah. No, that's why. It made no sense.
The Chiefs, who are allergic to running the football when they play the Chargers, just cram it down their throat the entire game. Because they know that if they get into any kind of 2nd and 5, just hand off first down. I mean, the Chargers can't. I was surprised, considering McDaniel's background in San Francisco and how well they run the ball and how well the Dolphins at times this year have run the football. I was surprised in that game when it wasn't working early that they didn't just say, you know what, screw it. Mostert, Wilson, we're going to hand off. We're going to keep Herbert on the sideline, and we're going to go on these 7-minute drives and just bleed them to death. And by doing that, force them to change the way they're playing their pass coverages. They're going to have to come up. They're going to have to suck into the front 7 a little bit more, and then you can hit them for more of these deep shots with Hill and with Waddle and get them one-on-one. They never did it. And so the Chargers never had to come out of that defense.
They got to come up this week with one hell of a performance.
Yeah, they did.
Either win or lose, beautifully. Like a game where you walk away and you say, well, they played a hell of a game, dude, but Buffalo is just a better team, and they were just a little better. But they show up like they did the last 2 weeks in Buffalo on Saturday.
Oh, they get killed.
They're going to definitely get killed, but not just that, it just does not bode well for the rest of the season. I mean, you've put yourself in a corner now. You know what I mean? It's like you should have won at least one of those 2 games. Both were winnable. Your defense is really not that good, yet they kept you in that game the entire time, and you couldn't finish it off on the offensive end.
They did.
It's ridiculous.
I think looking forward, looking to Saturday, again, and not to beat a dead horse here, Buffalo, one thing about Buffalo, like you can run the ball on the Bills. That is one thing. Now some of that was they gave up more of that yardage when they were injured at linebacker, and Edmonds and Milano weren't there. I understand that. Von Miller, the loss of Von Miller is not just a pass rushing loss. He is very good against the run. If I am the Dolphins in this game, I am constantly testing that edge. Constantly. Like, we are going to make you defend. And one thing the Dolphins are great about, which I'm not surprised considering, again, McDaniel's background, they're very good about using motion pre-snap. I would use that even more than they normally do.
Time.
Yes. Every play. Like, I would have Hill fake a jet sweep to him, run Wilson or Mostert the other direction. Same thing with Waddle. Then sometimes give him the ball. Let him run around the edge. Like, if I'm the Dolphins this week, I'm thinking to myself, and by the way, this is not a criticism of Tua, but it's just a reality. I'm thinking to myself, if we get into a game where it's Tua and Josh Allen just gunning it up and down the field, we're probably not going to win that game. Like
No.
that's a game the Bills want to play. They want to
Yes.
get into a game where they throw the ball 50 times and the
Right.
Dolphins throw it 45 times. And that's how Buffalo wins that game 9 times out of
Brother,
10.
you can't allow Josh Allen to throw 370 yards.
No, you can't. So
No, it's not going to be one touchdown. You're
I'll
going
tell
to
you this,
lose by 20, bro. You're going to get your ass
no
kicked
doubt. But
if
if
that
I'm
guy throws for
Miami,
370.
if I'm Miami in this game, my game plan is look, we have got to run the ball in this game. We have got to run the ball. A, better down in distances. It's going to make it harder for Buffalo to cover you. B, you've got to take some of the air out of the ball on Buffalo's offense. You've got to keep them on the
short passing game, Matt.
Yes,
The short passing.
Stop
force. Well, listen, the conditions will probably limit you anyways from wanting to take a lot of deep shots because the wind's going to screw with the ball anyway. But you have dominated inside a 35-yard box all year long. And I know you work a lot of the middle of the field, but you have so much speed on the edges that you can actually, whether it's screens or like you're saying, reverses, whatever it is, crossing routes, work a lot of that stuff. How many guys are actually going to stay with Tyreek or Waddle on a crossing route?
No, none. Zero.
Less than 1%? I mean, dude, come on, make it easy. And that's one of the things that pissed me off in that game last week. There were just so many empty calories on all these deep shots. And I'm going, what the hell is going on? I know Tyreek lost one in the lights and Waddle also had problems with another one. And so the receivers weren't necessarily sharp either. But still, why not more of a short passing game? You know, that's what the other guy did on the other side. He chewed your ass up all over the place inside that 20-yard box. He wasn't taking a whole bunch of deep shots. He ate your ass up with everybody underneath, and you couldn't do the same thing. I think that's what you have to do with the Bills. Run the ball and use that short passing game because, again, like you said, that'll keep the clock moving, and that'll chew up a lot of time.
Yeah, and look, Buffalo's secondary right now is not what it normally is. I mean, Hyde's out for the season. Tre'Davious White is back from his torn ACL, but he has not been fully back. I mean, they have sparingly they've kind of put him in and taken him out and put him back in. I mean, Teron Johnson's an excellent slot corner, but they're not great outs. I mean, Dane Jackson's fine, but like Dane Jackson's not covering Waddle or Hill. So if I'm Miami, I'm doing anything I possibly can to go at Dane Jackson, to take my chances with that. I would also test Tre'Davious White out and see how physically back are you. Like I would go after him. The Bills are on a 4-game win streak. They have not played teams who can throw the ball in this stretch. They've played New England, who can't throw the ball at all. They've played Cleveland with Brissett, who they actually probably were the best team they faced over this stretch in terms of throwing the ball. They played Detroit. That was a weird game on Thanksgiving. Jameson Williams wasn't there. They had already traded Hawkinson. I mean, Miami's a whole nother animal in terms of the weaponry that they're going to face this week. But I think the other side of this, too, is defensively. If I'm the Dolphins, like common knowledge is if you have a great quarterback on the other side of the ball, you don't blitz. If I'm Miami in this game, I'm not afraid to go after Allen a little bit in this game. Like I'm not saying I blitz relentlessly or anything, but I would not be afraid if you get into a passing situation. Hey, send them and double digs. The quiet, dirty secret about Buffalo's offense this year, Diggs is pretty much it. They don't have another guy.
The other guys haven't been as consistent. You're right about that.
I mean, because everybody came to the year going, Gabe Davis is going to be unbelievable. He's going to be great. He's been fine. Gabe Davis has 696 yards this season. Like, he's been fine. He's averaging 58 yards a game. It's not bad, but that's also been elevated by he's had 2 massive games this year. One against the Rams, one against the Steelers. Other than that, he's like 300 yards receiving. So if I'm Miami, I'm going, Gabe Davis, beat me. Let it. If I'm the Dolphins, I'm going, look, I don't care about Dawson Knox and Isaiah McKenzie and the backs. Like none of that matters to me. That they're not winning the game. I'm doing everything imaginable to take Diggs out. And I'm saying, you know what? I'm not afraid of you running the ball because the Bills are terrified to run the ball themselves. I mean,
actually, they do something even dumber.
They run
the ball a lot with Josh Allen, which to me, and again, I'm a Dolphins fan, so I don't want to see anybody injured.
No,
but they're just, brother. This is just a matter of time with Josh Allen. The way they're playing him, he takes such a beating in every game. Every game I watch, dude, they are taking shots at him, and eventually, it's going to cost you, dude.
I say this every week, multiple times. I'm sure I've written it. Of all the things in the NFL that I don't understand, and there are plenty, there are hundreds of things. The one thing more than any I do not get is why they are so insistent on purposefully running him into chaos. Like and people always say, "Well, what about Lamar Jackson?" Lamar Jackson,
He has no choice. He has no choice.
Sure, but also I will say this for him: how many times do you see Lamar Jackson get lit up? Like
Very rare.
He's
Very rare.
very good about he gets down, he gets out of bounds.
Yes.
He doesn't take on a lot of contact. Like he's smart in that way. He's very good about I'm going to get the yardage I can get, and I'm going to go down, or I'm going to go out of bounds.
Dude, this injury came in the pocket.
Right. Yeah. Yes. At both times when he's been hurt, it's been in the pocket. Allen.
And by the way, to his credit, he has tried to stay in the pocket as much as possible.
They have no receivers.
You can tell that it's something that he wanted to get over. He can't make it. He can't he can't overcome it, unfortunately. Yep. But I give him all the credit in the world. He has tried.
Yeah, he has. They can't move the ball if he's not running the football.
Right.
The Bills, on the other hand, are just hell-bent on running the ball down. And Allen, I don't know if it's a pride thing or what it is. He never slides. He's all about just going like full tilt into a linebacker.
You saw the dive this week. He went up in the air and everything. I mean, I'm cringing, bro.
I mean, the thing that kills me with the Bills is Devin Singletary this year has rushed for 4.5 yards a carry. James Cook, who they drafted, is averaging 5.1 yards a carry. Neither one of them ever gets football. I don't understand what their fascination is with having their star quarterback run a sweep like 5 times a game. And then it's not like he does the sweep and like runs out of bounds. He turns upfield. And I love the people who are always like, well, he's a big quarterback. Okay, that's great. He's not the size of a linebacker. Like most of these linebackers are bigger than Josh Allen. So I don't understand the idea of just, hey, let him try to run somebody over. And if I'm the Dolphins, by the way, in this game, I don't care at all about their other running backs. I have no fear of them because they're never going to see the football. If I'm Miami, my entire defensive game plan is get pressure on Allen and double Diggs. Take him out of the game.
Hit him.
Make them beat you with Cole Beasley now that he's back. And John Brown and all these guys. Like, I'm willing to take my chances if I'm Miami that they're not going to beat me otherwise down the field more than maybe once or twice. And I can live with that as long as the offense is doing some things on the other side.
I'm with you there. All right. Got to ask you, the talk is Brady could end up coming back now that his life has completely changed. He could come back in 2023. And some are saying again, San Francisco, the Garoppolo injury. We'll see how Purdy finishes. Right. Trey Lance is still not sure. He's not ready to run that offense. So what do you think happens with Brady? What's your gut tell you? Does he come back? And if he comes back, does he end up in San Francisco?
You know, it's hard to say because this season's been such a nightmare for Tampa and for Brady. I'll say this: if he comes back, he's not going to be in Tampa. I'll tell you that much. I think if he comes back, like I think we talked about this a little while ago. Like, there's not that many spots where you go, that makes a ton of sense. The Niners make all the sense in the world because if you're the 49ers, first of all, he's a hometown kid, right? I mean, I'm sure he'd love to play there. Yeah. They've an incredible defense. They've got all these
Super Bowl team. They're a Super Bowl team with a quarterback.
And I've had this conversation. People say, well, he's older. Do they want to go that right? Yeah, if you're them, unless you love Trey Lance to the point that you just have to get him out on the field. The whole idea of this thing is to win a Super Bowl. I mean, the Rams are complete garbage right now, but I'll tell you right, you think the Rams regret going all in? No, they don't, because they won a Super Bowl.
They won their title, bro.
They got their ring. They're all immortal. They got their ring. That's it. If I'm the Niners, I'm trying to get him there in the worst way possible. So my gut kind of says that that's what's going to end up happening. Now, that's not based on report. It's just based on I just look at it and go, I don't think he's going back to Tampa. And I think, with everything going on in his life, that Fox gig is waiting, but that'll keep waiting. It's not going anywhere.
That'll be there for him. Yeah.
So if you're
Exactly.
him,
And by the way, as I told Ian earlier on the show, he doesn't have to be special. He just has to facilitate it in San Francisco. They have all the weapons, dude. He doesn't have to worry about carrying a defense that's not that good or a running game, or he has an offensive line. He has a running game. He has receivers. He has an all-pro tight end. My God, he has everything he needs. Hell, Gronk will come back just to play opposite of Kittle.
The division's terrible. I mean, the other part of it is too, like, look, if you're him, is that not like the perfect way to go out? You know, you win a Super Bowl for the team you grew up rooting for, and you grew up in that area. And if you're the Niners, let's face it, if you sign him, you're the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
I mean, because that's always been the thing with them. They're great, but they don't have the quarterback. Well, now they have the quarterback. So,
dude, and he's already done something that nobody's done. He's led 2 different teams to a title. Can you imagine if he leads 3 different teams to a title?
I feel like at this point, nothing is impossible with him. Like if you said to me he's going to play at 50 years old and win MVP, I'd be like, okay, sure, why not? I mean,
at this point, why doubt the guy? You know what I mean? It's like you keep looking stupid every time you doubt him. You know what I mean? I mean, right now I do doubt that team.
Oh, that team's terrible.
Yeah, doubt that team right now. But yeah, and I think you know what his retirement and then unretirement is probably really what derailed everything for them. Actually, they might have had a better mindset and kept everybody. And if he would have just from the get-go said that he was coming back, but that retire and unretire, he lost his team and his wife.
Those guys that are that great, like a lot of times you have to kind of drag them kicking and screaming off the field. I mean, that's just it's their whole life. I mean, you're not that great by accident. You're that great because that has been everything you do. I mean, I look at Michael Jordan, who, you know, people always like, oh, Washington, what did they? He was good till the day he was averaging 20 points a game. Like, he wasn't him. He wasn't like 1988.
And he was playing 82, by the way. He was playing like 81, 82 games also.
Yeah. I mean, there was no load management in 2003. Okay. Like, he was still really good, and that's the thing. He wasn't peak Michael Jordan at that point, of course, but he was still a really good player. Like, Brady maybe isn't like Brady of 10 years ago, but he's still pretty damn good. Like, you watch him play, he's not the problem in Tampa. Okay. No. By the way, the Buccaneers, they are the perfect example of coaching matters in the NFL. Okay. That offense, if you watch them week in and week out, you could just start calling out the plays. It's unbelievable how predictable they are. They don't even try to hide what they're doing, like 3 quarters. They're like, yeah, what the hell? It's a sail route. There it is. It's going to Evans. Like, okay. I mean, if you're a defensive coordinator, you watch an hour's worth of tape, you're good to go.
That's where if he goes to San Francisco, he also has to say, that's where Shanahan's going to say, Tom, we'll run the offense.
Yeah.
You do your job. We'll run the offense. And he doesn't have, and by the way, he should keep it that way because you have somebody very capable running the offense. So chill out, relax, do what they want you to do. Hell, if they can make Brock Purdy and coach him up and make him look good, you know that's a pretty damn good staff overall. You know, I'll give that kid a lot of credit, man. Okay. You know, by the way, the Baker Mayfield story, what'd you think of that this week?
I
selfishly root for him just so he could get his commercials back. That's it, bro. That's all I'm rooting for.
That was one of the most ridiculous games I can remember seeing. I mean, the Rams were deader than hell for 56 minutes, and then just all of a sudden, bang, bang. I got to tell you, I'm actually going to go the other way on this. Like, that to me is just more about the Raiders and what a clown show that is on a week in, week out bait. Like, the Raiders are 5-8. They have blown that game to the Rams, 16-3 with 4 minutes left. They're the only team to make Jeff Saturday look good. Okay. They lost a 20-0 lead to Cliff Kingsbury at home. They lost a 17-0 lead to Jacksonville, and they lost a 17-0 lead to Kansas City. And those are 5 of their 8 losses.
Well, okay, but the Kansas City one's understandable.
Okay, sure. Fair enough. I mean, you're playing a team that can score 17 points in a minute. Sure. Right. But, like, it's a game where you look at them and just go, like, Jacksonville and Arizona. The Arizona one, to me, is the most egregious. That's just insane. That's impossible. But you look at these games, you're like, oh my God, it's coaching, man. It is coaching. It is coaching. It's just, I remember writing about that Arizona game when it happened. I went back and looked, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, of course, but like, it was something ridiculous. Like when the Raiders got up 20 points, they only ran like 4 times the rest of the game. Like it was just some asinine statistic. Like who, like a kid playing Madden would know to do better than this. Like,
Right.
And it's just, but the Raiders aren't going to fire Josh McDaniels because Mark Davis doesn't want to pay 2 coaches. So they're going to have.
And it wasn't that Baker played great. He just made a couple of throws, and then his receivers, the Swanick guy or whatever the hell the kid's name,
Skowronek and Van
Skowronek or whatever, that he jumped up in the air, and that was
an unbelievable catch.
Yeah.
But that game, let it be said, that game
also credit to them. That was all backup receivers, not just a backup quarterback. It was also backup receivers.
It was
making that run for the Rams. So kudos to all of them.
It was a preseason roster. Also, quickly, let it be said, that game is over if Jerry Tillery doesn't just knock the ball out of Mayfield's hands and give him not only 15 yards, they stopped the clock.
Yeah.
The Raiders, look, everybody at this point knows I grew up a Chiefs fan, and I used to watch Chiefs and the Raiders play all the time in the 90s as a kid. And my dad used to say something that remains true to this day. If you hang around with the Raiders long enough, they will beat themselves. You just have to wait. And it's true 95% of the time. All those games as a kid watching those teams, it was like, look, just stay close because at some point they're going to do something that just tanks themselves. And 90% of the time, the Raiders just invent ways to lose, and they sure as hell did on Thursday.
And you know, the interesting part about your statement and your dad's statement, which is again 100% true, they've always been that team, even when they were great. Yeah. But because when they were great, they were like the University of Miami football teams, that they were so good that they could have 80 yards of penalties and still beat you by 42 points because they were so much more loaded than you that they could do all kinds of crazy shit and still get penalties and win. Those days that when the Raiders didn't have one, they still were the same team. They were always one of the most penalized teams. They were always doing all kinds of stupid stuff. But in those years that they won, they were really, really talented and they were able to overcome it. The problem has been now for decades is that more often than not, they're not really talented and they can't overcome all the stupidity. And this year's proof. I mean, 4 games of 13 or more points in leads and you've blown them all. I mean, that's bad. And by the way, McVay's gone at the end of the year, right?
You know what? I wanted to actually mention that. So Liam Cohen is the offensive coordinator there. I found it very interesting that Liam Cohen took the same role at the University of Kentucky, went back to Kentucky. He was from there. He's been yo-yoing back and forth with the University of Kentucky and the Rams. I thought it was really interesting that he went back to Kentucky. Like, very few people are closer to Sean McVay than Liam Cohen. And for him to leave that job, to go back to college, that kind of screams like I'm getting ahead of something.
Right.
Yeah, I would lean to think that McVay's he's gonna be it's gonna be a race between him and Brady to see who can get the analyst job over at Fox first, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're him, why? Right? I mean that team is going to go
yeah, or maybe he leaves, Sean Payton takes over, and who knows? You know, because Sean Payton is going to come back. There was a story like he might even come back to the New Orleans Saints. You know what I mean? I don't know. By the way, do the Saints control his rights?
Yes.
If he wants to come back next year?
2 more years, you have to trade for him.
So you have to trade for him. So
either he comes back to New
Orleans, or you have to then trade for him.
You have to trade for him. I wrote a whole column that I think that the Chargers should go out and do whatever it takes. But if they make the playoffs, I'm sure they'll keep Stanley. I wrote that column like a month and a half ago. I think the Rams, like if they got to trade for him, what are you trading? What do you even have?
No, they don't have anything.
How could you even do it?
Yeah,
But if you're McVay, if you're Sean McVay, why would you stay at this point? You've won your championship. You're young enough. Look, you could take a couple of years off and go back. I mean, and have 20 more years. It's not like he's 65 years old. So if I'm him, I'm also looking at the roster and going, you know what, man? This is not going to get any less painful going forward. Stafford, who knows what's left in that arm, and if he's breaking down physically. Donald, I mean, he almost retired. Now he's got the contract now. How long is he going to play? Ramsey, how long is he going to be at the peak of his powers with no draft picks? Yeah, if I thought the Liam Cohen going to Kentucky as an offensive coordinator, those guys are very, very close. That tells me a lot about what might happen here moving forward.
All right. Tell them about Fanside. Tell them about the podcast, baby.
Sure. So every Tuesday at noon, you can check out Stack in the Box. We go live, noon Eastern, 11 Central. We cover the whole league. We actually led with the Dolphins this week, although Dolphins fans might not quite enjoy what we led with this week. In fairness.
It is what it is, dude. We sucked.
It is what it is. It was the biggest game of the week, and, we had to talk about it. But
crap the bed.
Yeah, it happens, man. It happens. But yeah, so Stack in the Box. Also, check out the column Stack in the Box every Monday morning over on Fansided, and you can check it out, of course, on my Twitter feed, which is just at my name. So go ahead, check all that stuff out. I got my quarterback rankings up today. I'll tweet those out right after the show. And I appreciate everybody that comes into the chats on my podcast because I see some of you guys. So that's always cool. But hey, look, good luck on Saturday. That's a really big one. So we'll see how it plays out.
They better show up, brother. They better show up like you do every week for us. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, much love, my brother. Enjoy the week.
Take care, Big O.
You got it. There you go. Matt Verderame, baby. We step out of the huddle.